This horrible crime has affected all of us.
First, my deepest condolences to the families. And friends of Ethan, Kaylee, Zena, and Madison.
It's hard to go back to the way things were after something so tragic happened.
As soon as we heard about the awful murders, the first thing we thought of was how can we help? How can we help the Sigma Chi fraternity undergraduates over there in Moscow? And how can we help honor Ethan?
One year ago, 4 students at the University of Idaho were murdered. Fear, panic, and confusion surrounded Moscow. Tonight on Murrow News 8, we want to clear up some of that confusion and tell some of the stories of Ethan, Madison, Kaylee, and Xana.
Four University of Idaho students were killed yesterday in a suspected homicide. They say this is an ongoing investigation, but there's no active threat to the community.
We know you have questions, and so do we.
First, my deepest condolences to the families. And friends of Ethan, Kaylee, Zena, and Madison. Excuse me.
Local businesses were canvassed in an effort to see if any fixed blade type knives may have recently been purchased.
The Moscow police released a new statement. They're looking for a car that you can be seen on your screen. If you know anyone that has that type of car in the Moscow area, you are urged to call the Moscow police tip line or send an email.
Hello. How you doing? How y'all doing today? So y'all work at the university there?
I actually do work there.
Oh.
Mr. Koberger was taken into custody without incident. The scene was turned over to the FBI Evidence Response Team for processing.
Mr. Koberger, I need to speak to you for a moment then. Have you had enough time to speak with Ms. Taylor about your decision to waive your right to a speedy preliminary hearing?
Yes.
They told me a grand jury indicted Brian Koberger on all counts. That means the grand jury found there was enough evidence in the case for it to go to trial.
It was a pretty gruesome murder for a college campus.
Being in Pullman is like such a small area, and I feel like that doesn't happen.
I think I was still in shock until like maybe a couple months after.
For like the past 6 years I've lived here, and there hasn't been crime like that before. It was just kind of shocking.
I think I just was more around people.
I don't think it's changed the way I've moved around campus, but it does, like, I do think about it.
I didn't feel any less safe, but I guess I was just a little bit more, aware.
Just be safe, make sure that you are being aware of your surroundings and everything like that.
Across the border here in Moscow, Idaho, people are still trying to adjust to normal life once again. I spoke to Samantha Melendrez, who is a University of Idaho student, about the different lifestyle changes and safety precautions she takes before going out at night.
It's hard to go back to the way things were after something so tragic happened. Me and a bunch of our friends would always go party at least every weekend. It was kind of normal for us. Bars, just parties that were in the apartments, going to Pullman, sometimes frat parties, but it's just whatever the vibe was for the night. A lot of bars that we would go at was definitely Corner Club. Sometimes I would go out alone. It was just more or less like I would make friends on the way, like being there. It felt fine up until the homicides did happen. It was kind of depressing. Two of the older girls, Kaylee and Maddie, they were 21. Corner was their area too, so it was kind of just it didn't feel right. Everyone was on edge, no one felt safe. People, this was a town that everyone considered having doors unlocked to now having our doors locked with stuff on our windows just so people can't get in. A lot of people weren't going out regardless because of that, just the whole city of Moscow. People were just shutting themselves in. Even when I would go to work, it was kind of just we had to start having a buddy system leaving work and getting walked to our cars and stuff. All of us have each other's locations on Apple locations, so they have our live locations all the time. More or less, our plans are if we go out, we have to be with someone that we know, that everybody knows. Our location has to be on, and we have to send updates on how we're doing and when we're gonna be home. I think it's changed my perspective on a lot, especially just growing up and knowing the dangers outside. Now we only really go to Corner, and that's the place that we stay the most. Other than that, we don't leave our own general area that we consider our safe spot.
Brian Koberger was a graduate student here at WSU, and he taught right inside this building here. I spoke to Phil Weiler to get a better understanding of WSU's response and to a student on campus to see how the students felt about it.
Scared, confused. It felt like there was a light that was turned off. It felt like depression hit campus. Nobody was taking it easy on us. Nobody really understood, yeah, they knew that what was going on, but they still expected us to go on with our day like nothing ever happened. But we are a community, and it did affect us. Nobody was saying anything, and yes, we do know a lot of the factors now. We know a lot of the things that have come out. But what we forget is that the day after, we didn't know much. We just knew that 4 people had died. That's even crazier because that's never happened around here.
Yeah, this was a student who'd been with us for just a couple months. He had been there the first semester, and I think everyone is shocked and horrified that there is someone who was in our community who was accused of these really horrific crimes.
They were amongst the people that he murdered. He targeted college students, so it was really, really challenging to hear about who the suspect was. We never used to lock our doors because we felt safe. But now we start locking our doors. We have to make sure that our windows are always locked.
When news of the murders broke in the community, the Washington State University police chief felt obligated to send out a text alert to all of our students. Blue light phones are important. We also have had for many years a ride program, an escort, walking escort service that's run by our student police cadets through the WSU Police Department. If there's any reason whatsoever for us to believe that that students' safety is in any way at risk, we're going to notify them.
Honestly, still with fear in a way, because the trial's still going on. So we don't know whether he's innocent or guilty.
Brian Koberger was arrested on December 30th of 2022, almost 11 months ago. And while lots of things have been happening in the courthouse, not much progress has been made. When it comes to criminal cases, it isn't easy as arrest, charge, and trial. There are many steps taken before a case can officially go to trial.
If a person's in custody, the prosecutor is supposed to bring the case to trial within 60 days. That rarely ever happens. What happens is the defendant waives their speedy trial right because it's just not possible to get a case together in that short period of time, let alone a big case like Koberger's case. There's a tremendous amount of discovery that has to take place first. In the meantime, there's all kinds of motions that need to be filed for motions in limine to keep information out, specifically to keep some evidence from being presented to the jury because it may be prejudicial.
In the case of Brian Koberger, information about where in the discovery process the two sides are is almost impossible to find. A gag order from Judge John Judge has limited all parties from saying anything about the case.
Well, gag orders have to be pretty specific because of the First Amendment. People have a right to express themselves. But the court tries to specifically set out rules about what defendants cannot talk about or what the prosecutor can't talk about.
And it isn't just Latah County prosecutors and Koberger's defense team either. Whitman County prosecutor, Moscow, Pullman, and WSU police, even the mayor of Moscow have all cited the gag order as reason not to talk to reporters or the public.
There's no penalty for not talking to the press. There's only penalties if you talk to the press and it was covered by the gag order.
Another pretrial discussion is the ability to move the trial to a new location.
Pretty rare that happens, and I don't see it happening in this case, but they move these things because they've been sensationalized to a point where they can't get a fair jury pool. So they move them to other jurisdictions to try to get people who haven't been following the case. I think it's going to be pretty tough in Idaho to find somebody who hasn't been following the case. It's been pretty spectacular. All of the newspapers there's an article about it every single day in the papers, and I read them. I'm sure everybody else is reading them as well.
With the FBI going back to the house a couple weeks ago looking for more evidence, it is clear that more discovery needs to happen before the case can go to trial.
They're going to have, they being the FBI, is going to have to look over all that information, come to some conclusions, and they're going to send it to the state. Then the state has to send it to the defense. Then the defense has to sit down with their experts and go over it. And so that in and of itself is going to take months. Another year, certainly that could be. It could be 2 years.
Ethan, Kaylee, Maddie, and Xana all lost their lives in this home on King Road. But now 1 year later, an endowed scholarship foundation and a memorial garden will help their legacies live on forever.
Ethan was just a dude you loved to be around. He was always a fun time, always someone you wanted to be hanging out with, someone that you'd introduce your parents to if your parents were coming here. That's the kind of guy that Ethan was. Just a happy guy, loved life, loved being around his friends, loved Sigma Chi.
How can we help the Sigma Chi fraternity undergraduates over there in Moscow? And how can we help honor Ethan?
First annual Ethan Chapin Memorial Scholarship Award to Hunter Chapin.
He's a good dude. He's a good guy to hang around with, just like Ethan. Him and Ethan are very similar but very different. Hunter's a very happy guy. He's fun to be around. Always down to do whatever. He's a yes man. See Hunter up on the stage holding the plaque, knowing that he's getting that $5,000. He's bringing home that first scholarship. It meant a lot to him. I know it meant a lot to his family, but also meant a lot to our whole chapter. And ended up being $125,000 $5,000 every year for the rest of Sigma Chi Gamma Eta's existence.
These donations sent, the message was a message of peace and love from around the hemisphere, even from people who didn't know the family.
I know, just live life like Ethan, be positive, do fun stuff, always be making jokes, have a smile on your face. That's the kind of thing I want the next generation of people at Sigma Chi in general just to know.
Now, how does this community move forward? How do they move past the tragic events from a year ago, but never forget the 4 University of Idaho students?
So the Healing Garden and Memorial, of course, came about after the events of last November. But the idea for the project is larger than that. So the Healing Garden will be a place where we can go to remember all of the students that we have lost here at the university. Unfortunately, we do lose a number of students each year. And so the garden itself is bigger. Within that larger garden will be a memorial specifically for the 4 that were killed last November. It's really a student-driven project, and they have been meeting weekly for months now to decide what this could be, how they could move it forward, and to really work on the fundraising piece of this. And then our students within the College of Art and Architecture have taken it on as a class project this semester to come up with ideas of what this could look like. The support for our Vandal community has been incredible. In the last year, we have seen outpouring of support beyond anything we could ever imagine. You know, the unfortunate circumstances of what brought us together is beyond comprehension, but really to see the outpouring of support in notes, love, other sorts of support, as well as financial support, has just been incredible. And to watch our students really rally around each other, the student-driven project is a really great example of that. We're really looking at an area kind of down by the mall, but not directly in the main flow of traffic. So we're hoping that that will be a great spot for our students to be able to go and reflect and use this space in an area that's easy to access, but also is a little bit more private and secluded so that they can remember. To just have that place to go and remember and think about the bright spots that they were in our lives, I think will be a legacy that lasts beyond any of us here. And it's been really incredible to watch the students who are in the design process really understand that and embrace that and know that what they're building is for those students for generations to come.
So what's next for our community here on the Palouse? Well, Brian Koberger and his defense team will take each of their filings to court before the case can officially go to trial. In the meantime, the communities of Pullman and Moscow are trying to find a new sense of normal, though not everyone will feel the same way. We want to thank all of those who participated in making this program and for everyone tuning in. From our team at Murrow News 8, thank you and good night.